Hi guys. We are continuing in John chapter 6 today, and so the setting here is it's been an incredibly long day. Okay, long day. Think long day. Okay, the disciples have been with Jesus, feeding anywhere to 5 to 10,000 people. Crowds have been pushing in on them. They've been giving all they have to everyone around them. Earlier, Jesus, their leader, had been dodging vicious accusation from jealous religious people. And of course, that has a trickle-down effect. It's definitely going to wear on his workers. They had been serving this large crowd, this large mass of people, and seeking at the very same time to try to learn some lessons from their own Savior. I know they stole away for a few minutes a couple times here, and so it was a lot. It was a lot. Doubtless, these guys were feeling incredibly overwhelmed, righteously exhausted, and in real need of some decent rest. And so that's where we find the disciples in John chapter 6, verses 16 through 21. It was evening. They were likely headed home. And they got into, or wherever they were staying. I mean, it doesn't really say that, but it was evening, so they're probably going somewhere wherever they're staying. So they got into their boat because they had to cross the sea to get there, to wherever they were going. And so the text says, it was now dark. We can relate, right? Long day, long week, long year, long trials, long, hard life. We can relate. Feeling beat up, used up, otherwise spent, right? And so now it's dark. It's dark. It's physically dark, but we feel the encroachment of darkness on our very human spirit too, right? It's when we're most weak that we're most likely to be attacked. Satan loves to devour the weary at just the moment before Jesus comes to rescue them, right? Just on the cusp. You're almost there, but Satan's going to come in right at that moment just to see, and God's going to allow him to test you at that moment, right before the rescue, right? And so not only was it dark, but here's the clincher. It was now dark, and Jesus had not yet come to them. That "and" is the most difficult conjunction in all of the world, if you ask me. Jesus had not yet come to them. Not only was it dark, it's one thing to be in the dark, but it's quite another to be in the dark without your leader, without your Lord, without your hope, without your security. And so now it's now dark, and Jesus has not yet come to them. It's dark, Jesus. What are you doing? Do you ever just say that? Because I do. Where are you, Lord? What do you want from me? Like, I'm trying, but what are you doing? You know? And I know Jesus knows, but sometimes we just gotta ask, right? But Jesus had gone on to pray by himself. Apparently, he was still at that. I don't know. But so the disciples go on alone. They leave without him because it's getting late. Now it's dark, and they find themselves in a boat in the dark without Jesus. And so next, guess what happens next? The sea starts to get rough. Oh, isn't that just precious? Like, now the storm comes, right? We're already tired. Now the wind and the waves are going to start giving us hell, right? That's where we're at. We're tired, we're spent, we're weary. Now we got to row with all our might just so that we don't capsize or drown, right? That's where these guys are. And so just when we think, oh, finally, the day is almost over, the night, you know, and it's dark out, and just when we think, you know, finally we're going to get some rest, nope, not so. Here comes another storm, and it's like, wow, okay. But imagine that. Imagine it. It's not a place that any of us ever like to be. And often, whether it's our fault for leaving the land prematurely without our Lord, despite how long he really is taking up there on the mountain, which it doesn't really imply that or infer that, and I don't really think that was the case, because I think if Jesus had wanted them to wait, they would have, but I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't really say anything about that. I just think that they left and they went on because it was late and it was time for bed, right? And I think probably more likely this is merely one of life's great giving of tests for these guys. This is exactly where they are. And sometimes this is where we all end up, right? All of us understand this position that they're in, at least on an emotional level. Maybe not on a physical rowing the boat level, but on an emotional level, we can relate. And remember now, these are Jesus's good guys. They're his BFFs. So before we go throwing shade, we've got to consider who it really is driving this sea bullied boat at this point, right? It's his guys. So suddenly, out of nowhere, Jesus appears. He just appears. He is quite literally walking on top of the water. And the struggling disciples see him coming toward them, and they're scared. They're not relieved. They're scared. But he calms their fears by saying, "It is I. Do not be afraid," John 6:20. And so maybe they didn't realize who he was. Maybe they thought he was a ghost. Like maybe they didn't realize that this was their Lord. Or maybe they did realize that it was him, but they didn't really know what he was up to, right? There's a storm raging here. He obviously has control over wind and the waves if he can walk on them. But they don't know what's going on. Like, this is weird. You got to admit, right? This guy's walking on the water. But they've already seen miracles, so they're probably just in this, like, weird state. And so read that again. He calms their fears by saying, "It is I. Do not be afraid." And then in verse 21, it says, then, after he says that, then they were glad to take him into the boat. And sometimes we can't receive Jesus into our storms, even despite our extraordinary weariness, because we're simply too afraid. We see him coming and we wonder whether he's really coming to save us, or if maybe he's coming to use his immense power to crush us or cremate us. And we wonder how and why he could really be calming a storm sent from his very own creation. Like it doesn't compute, because we can't understand a God that is so far above us, right? If we could understand him, then he wouldn't be God, or we would be equal to him. So he's not computing, right? And so we recognize his unparalleled power. We see it. We know it. We know him. We know how powerful he is. And sometimes we just cringe, like knowing that he can crush us at will. He can. And it's terrifying. It can be terrifying. But the Bible tells us the fear of God is the beginning, just the beginning of wisdom. And so we see that God has this incredible power, and it is terrifying. It can be. But in our darkest darkness, in our deepest need, in our weariest exhaustion, in all of our most valid, veritable fears, Jesus calls out, and he calms them all. He comes for us. And he simply says, "It is I. Do not be afraid." And then we see him rightly. And did you ever wonder, like, why did Jesus do this? Why didn't he come back in time to just get on the boat with the disciples in the first place? Why didn't he wait till these guys made it to the other side? They probably would have made it, right? It would have been hard, but they'd have made it. But why didn't he merely calm the storm from the shore? Like all of these questions, why did Jesus get his sandals on and high step it out to sea? Why did he do this? Because Jesus, who had all the miracle-making power in all the world at his disposal at all of the time, did only a very select few nature-negating miracles while living on earth, and this was one of them. And, he generally, even though he had all this power, he generally stayed within the confines of science and gravity, right? He generally did. He did miracles, but he could have done way more miracles, but he chooses to do this one. And it was for a few fishermen rowing a small boat through a mediocre storm at night where no one else could even see it done. Now think about that. Why would Jesus Christ, the Lord of the entire universe, do something like that? And what does it teach us about him today? Jesus was showing his closest men exactly who he was. The miracle was a matter of his identity, okay? And he's just gone through and proved his identity to the accusing Pharisees and religious people. Now he's going to prove his identity among his own-ment, right? Jesus is making it real clear to these guys that he's got them. This is who I am, guys. I've got you. No matter how dark, no matter how tired, no matter how stormy, no matter how afraid this world will be, Jesus has got his guys. He's got all the power and all the resources and all the love and all the care and all the world, and he's going to save them. He is. He's going to show up. He will. And we can take that to the bank and bet our best racehorse on it. Jesus has got us, and he's going to show up. And so let's get that. This is Jesus. This is who he is. This is a matter of his identity. He loves his children. Okay? And so the second portion of John 6, verse 21, after they welcome him into the boat, is the glory. Here's the glory, right? And immediately the boat was at the land to which they were going. Here's the glory. Here's the second part of the verse that started with Jesus, guys, trusting in him fully after he calmed their fear. Immediately, as soon as, without further delay, Jesus got into the boat. Without any further delay, they got to the very place where they needed to go. Here's another miracle, guys. Jesus moved them immediately. It was like an instant, right? He moved them when he was seen rightly. He moved them immediately. He sped them along to the land where they were headed in a mere instant. Here we see another miracle. What would take us hours, maybe days, weeks, months to accomplish, using up all our might, happens in a mere instant for the one who teaches us that even our very faith in him can move mountains. So then, finally, they got to where they were going, because they saw him and they trusted him enough to accept them into their broken little sea bully boat. And I think we've got to get that. We've got to get his identity and his goodness and his power and his glory. We've got to get all that stuff down deep before Jesus is going to move us to the places that we have set out to go. And that's why he shows up this way and at this time and for these particular guys. He wants them to get it. He cares about these guys. These are his guys, right? He wants them to get it. And you know, I was just thinking as I reviewed this and I read it, once I was in Mexico on a missions trip. It was like 20 years ago, and a young man on our team was preaching, and he preached on this passage, and I will never forget the impact that this man had on me when he preached this. Every time I read the words, "It is I, do not be afraid," I see him. I see his arms outstretched as if on the cross. I see the passion that was in his eyes. I hear the truth that was in his voice that day. And I remember how much this word meant to me personally on that day. And, you know, I think about him. And, you know, he was a man who was young. We were the same age. He went on, you know, he was in medical school, and he went on to sacrifice the medical degree to become a pastor because he felt called. And he was a powerful preacher. He became a powerful preacher, extremely talented man. He could play the piano like nobody's business. He's amazing. He was amazing. Just the gifts that this man had. And but you know, that man today, to my knowledge, is no longer even serving the Lord at all. And I look around, you know, I see my circumstances, and I see pitch blackness, I see darkness in a lot of places where I really, really, really wish that there was some light. And I wonder, will he ever come? Will Jesus really ever show up and silence the wind and the waves and the pain and all the failed progress? Like, will he really redeem the time? You know, we read these things about redeeming the time, and, you know, God, he has time in his hand, but, you know, you get to a point where you're turning 40, and you really just look back and say, is God going to redeem the time? Because time's getting short. It's getting shorter, right? And the temptation is to fear and to give up and to stop trusting, because we get so tired. We get so tired. We begin to wonder where he could possibly be. You know, that's what Satan does. He works on us until we're so broken down and weary that we want to give up. And really, though, all we can do is wait on our Lord. He's coming. He wants our trust. Jesus has got us. He does. He's going to show up. He is. He will. And he wants us to trust him. We just have to wait. We can't give up. We can't, because some of the strongest, most talented, most gifted, most called, most powerful, even preachers and pastors in the world have given up under the load of overwhelming darkness and trials and testing and stress. And who could blame them, right? But God wants our trust, and he's going to prove us faithful if we'll just trust that he is coming, and he has the power over all creation, all elements, all storms, everything, all darkness, all tiredness. He's got it. He's got it all in his hand, and he is going to make it right. He's going to save us. He's not going to leave us out at sea. And so I hope that's an encouragement to you today. I think it is an encouragement to me today. I hope it's helpful. And I hope that blesses you. I will see you tomorrow, continuing in John chapter 6.